Well, I need to get that thing off the screen. It's not working at the moment. Anyway, hi, y'all. I was a little bit late getting started on this last night, so I decided not to go through with it. So we're going to do it tonight. Hopefully, we'll have a little bit of fun. So without any further ado, we're going to get this party started. Welcome, everybody. Before we get started, I got to remind everybody out there that it's not nice to have your warm plata moist. So I encourage you to store it in a cool, dry place to ensure the maximum potential of your varm plata. If you have no idea what varm plata is, you're going to have to check out TikTok and find out what's going on with that. Anyway, what we're doing tonight is we're going to be looking at some videos that were presented underneath the search Church of Satan. Now, this is going to just be a little bit of fun, a little bit of critique, but we're going to start off today with having a little bit of fun. So we're going to get started here in just a few seconds as soon as I get things loaded up and make sure that this screen is still being captured by the lovely, lovely thing. So we're just going to have to go in. You're going to see something that happens behind the scene. No. This could be deadly, but you know, that's how things work around here. So we're going to go check out our capture mode, make sure our capture mode is on the right channel. It is, and so we'll get it all straightened out here. Yes, just give me 3 shakes and we will get started. Hopefully we'll have a little bit of fun, a little bit of just playing around, having a good time. Here we go. And it's there, folks. Welcome to the side-by-side monitor. Let's see what we've got in store for us today, okay?
Of Satan is real. The influence of Satan is real. His terrible and awesome power has shaken the very core of civilizations since the dawn of man. Yet this dark cloud still hangs over us today. This primordial force of evil could be yours.
So, I want you to know this is a little bit of fun, a little bit of satire. But this is the type of thing that most people will think of when they think of Church of Satan. This is not what the Church of Satan is about.
It's my first day.
I don't give a fuck.
That would be my attitude, too.
Hi, I'm Ken Blankenship, High Priest of the Church of Satan East Moline Chapter. Tired of churches that make you feel guilty? Then the Church of Satan's for you.
No, it's not. I can guarantee you it's not.
My husband got really sick. We didn't know where to turn. Thankfully, the Church of Satan gave me the courage I needed to leave him. Thanks, Satan.
I like the
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Needed to leave him. Thanks, Satan.
I like the Church of Satan because their priests don't try to have sex with kids. I don't know if it's because there are rules against it or satanic priests know that kids aren't good at sex or what.
Well, it might be because there's a little bit of things covered in our rules of the earth that talk about this type of thing. But, you know, we're not going to get too involved with that right now. We can get involved with that in another show. But right now, we're just going to have a little bit of fun with this and see what happens.
Either way, I respect it. Also, there's plenty of parking.
Christianity preaches charity.
Here's another thing you wouldn't see in a Church of Satan.
But fuck that. My money is mine. I'm trying to get with these hoes.
I like to eat pork, I like to drink a lot, and I like to drive fast.
Well, we all know that's not going to work very well.
This is working for me.
Here at the Church of Satan, we put you in the center of the universe, which is what most of you do already anyway.
When I came out to my Christian family, they said that God hated me. That seemed presumptuous. The Church of Satan welcomed me with open arms.
We're finally free!
When I was Presbyterian, they did.
Now, this guy This guy takes the cake, the proverbial cake. She still doesn't look like she's very comfortable with what's going on here.
They didn't like me urinating in the baptismal font. When I was a Lutheran, they didn't like me urinating in the baptismal fonts. Finally, I found a place where I can urinate in the baptismal fonts.
My name's Lewis Smith, and this is my church.
Yeah.
The Catholic Church said if I have an abortion, I'm going to hell. I had one this morning. I feel amazing. Thank you, Satan.
Tired of hypocrisy and thinly veiled hatred in your church? Then check out the Church of Satan East Moline chapter. And join us the first Sunday of every month for our tequila and hand job breakfast. All proceeds benefit Satan Scouts. We're the Church of Satan. Come on in and sin a while.
Well, unfortunately, this is what a lot of people think goes on in a Church of Satan and what a Church of Satan would be like. This couldn't be farther from the truth. Now, we all know that a lot of us that are Satanists would not form community. We wouldn't indulge in this type of thing. But it is kind of a funny little satire to look at. And we can enjoy it for what it was. Satire. So that was the fun little beginning one that I thought we'd work on. So we're going to take a look at the next one. This one that's coming up is what happened in 2016 when the Satanic Temple decided to do something.
At this time, we will have an invocation by David Suhor. This will be followed by a Pledge of Allegiance led by Vice President Frank Spencer.
All right, so this is one of the stunts that the Satanic Temple likes to pull a lot. They like to get involved in places where they allow any member of the public to step forward and do an invocation to the meeting. They have to do it by law because as a recognized religion, they can present themselves to be a person to do the invocation. But it gets a little bit wild and crazy when they do this type of thing. And we'll let this speak for itself.
We can.
Disruptive, volatile, crazy for even thinking they could actually do anything like this. Now, this is just how that the councilman had to handle this.
I'm going to give you a chance to speak. If you deviate from what I feel is proper invocation speech, I will have you removed from the chamber.
That won't be an issue.
Okay.
However, I would ask that these people remain quiet, or at least a level where my invocation may be heard.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I ask you to at least keep it to a low volume?
No, he's going to pronounce curses on us and you.
Then I'm going to have to ask you all to leave so that he can give his invocation.
No, we're not leaving.
Mr. President, may I be allowed to leave?
I can clear the chambers if I like. I don't want to have to do that.
Mr. President, may I be allowed
No,
to speak
sir.
for one
No,
second?
sir. No, sir. This is the invocation. The void forum is coming.
Being placed on the city council and the city and Escambia County and our neighbors and our friends and family.
Mr. President, you
Okay.
allowed him last week to stand on the floor.
We need to have the chambers cleared this time. We need to have the chambers cleared.
I need everybody to exit the chamber. Let us stand now, unbowed and unfettered, by arcane doctrines, born of fearful minds in darkened times. Let us embrace the Luciferian impulse to eat of the tree of knowledge and dissipate our blissful and comforting delusions of hope. Let us demand that individuals be judged for their concrete actions, not their fealty to arbitrary social norms and illusory categorization. Let us reason our solution with agnosticism in all things. Let us demand that individuals be judged for their concrete actions, not their fealty to arbitrary social norms and illusory categorization. Let us reason our solutions with agnosticism in all things, holding fast only to that which is demonstrably true. Let us stand firm against any and all arbitrary authority that threatens the personal sovereignty of one or all. That which will not bend must break, and that which is destroyed by truth should never be spared. Its demise, it is done.
So this is exactly the type of theatrical bullshit that you would not see the Church of Satan do. Yes. He does have a good singing voice. But, seriously? Is this how we actually get anything changed in the way that civil meetings are opened with prayer? I don't think so. But this is just one of those things that the temple, the satanic temple, likes to do. The Church of Satan allows you to exercise your political views on your own without being backed by the church. In fact, it'd be much better if you were to take this type of thing and present it to some type of legal authority to say, hey, is this really something that should be done as part of our civil meetings? Just my opinion on this, you know. I'm going to let this play out. It's only got about 10 more seconds left. If I can get it to work.
Thank you for not interrupting me.
So, that's the type of fun stuff that the Satanic Temple likes to play with. So we're going to move on to the third video that is ex-Satanist reveals terrifying ordeal with the devil, which led him to Christ. Again, these are the type of things that you find if you search for the Church of Satan. Let me back this track up a little. Nope.
Doing certain like rituals with friends to harness the kind of power around me or within me or whatever it was to kind of overcome and engage with what I was dealing with in life. You know, I had friends who I guess they would say they were witches or whatever. And so at the point I pulled that thing off the shelf, it was in that night. I went home and I just had this desire. I don't know where I got it from. I just had this desire to carve this pentagram into my chest.
Makes me feel that he might actually have already had some ideas of self-harm and that this is just an excuse to do some self-harm. But hey, who am I to judge?
For me, you know, it just seemed like the things connected. I didn't know at the time that that the Satanic Bible was kind of what I now know it is, and I find that quite interesting. That in where I was feeling and that thing, they connected, and I found myself giving myself to Satan.
Well, he obviously didn't read the Satanic Bible because it doesn't talk about giving yourself over to Satan at all. It talks about giving yourself over to your carnal desires, doing that which comes naturally to you as a human. It doesn't say anything in there about giving yourself over to a diabolical entity. I highly encourage anybody who hasn't read it to read it at least once so you know where we Satanists are coming from. But let's continue to listen to see what this young man has to say.
And the logic of thought was this, Billy. It was, if God exists, God is not who people say God is because of all the suffering I've experienced and the lack of authenticity towards that I found within the church who say they're God's people. All of this satanic stuff and the witchcraft makes more sense of my life and actually offers me a better way forward.
Again, with this type of thing. Oh, hi, Aunt Jer. Nice to see you here. Again, with this type of thing, where a evangelical has a fun story to share with the Christian Broadcasting Network to get out there to the masses saying, hey, look at me. I was this dirty Satanist, and now I've become a follower of Jesus Christ. And it's all because of the love of Christ that I abandoned my Satanist ways, and that these stories are what get to me the most. Because he's making this up as he goes. I mean, He really is.
And so I'm going to give myself to that. And so, again, it wasn't one of finding the answers. It just seemed that that was a route which spoke more to my questions, you know? I met the Holy Spirit. That was the only thing that held me back or that turned me around. You know, I got in.
Oh dear, he had an uncomfortable radish burp that came up, and maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe this really hurt when I tried to carve this thing into me. Oh man, I don't know what I was doing.
Invited to a Christian gathering that my big sister's best friend was linked to, and I went. I probably fancied her a bit, and just sat through. You know, I sat through a whole week of these meetings, and I hated it. It made me incredibly angry. I saw all these people said that they believed in God and a God of love, and they were very happy. And I thought that's a load of rubbish. And
if it works for you, and it makes you feel happy, makes your life meaningful, embrace it. I don't care. But trying to say that my way of embracing life is evil is where I start having issues. These things always come up. They feel despair. They seek something. They think they find it amongst those who are believers in something beyond themselves. They can't empower themselves, which is perfectly fine. But finding power within yourself is what Satanism really is about, is finding that power in you. But if you can't and you need help, go ahead. Believe what you want to believe. I don't care. But let's see what else he has to say here.
You know, got to the point where I was just annoyed. I was trying to pick up weed because there are always some teenagers selling weed at big Christian festivals, aren't they? And so I was just trying to pick up weed and get with girls and stuff. And then on the last night, I was the angriest I ever was at some guy that gave like an altar call for other guys to come forward and commit to stop sleeping around and instead to be men of honor and stuff. And I thought, well, that's the worst thing I've ever heard. So I stayed at the back. Some guy came up and said, "Hey, can I pray for you?" And I was like, sure, feel embarrassed. So I made up something about moving to Australia just so he had something to pray for, right? And I thought he would like go back to his big old church and light a candle and say a prayer for me. But instead, he put a hand on my shoulder.
And here comes the moment that he feels the power of the Holy Spirit upon him. Because somebody raised his hand and said, "My brother, I'm going to help you from the clutches of the devil."
Praying for me in tongues. And in that moment, I felt the most incredible rush of peace. And it was honestly like all the things I've been up to in life, I was chasing highs and trying to feel lows. And that peace that I felt was higher than any high I'd ever felt. And it touched me at a deeper level than I'd ever felt touched before.
Of course, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel this whole thing that because somebody gave a fuck about you, that they actually would put their hands upon you and pray in gibberish and try to get the Holy Spirit to descend upon you. You're feeling the outward embrace this person gave you. And it's like nothing you may have experienced before. And that is one of the things that draws people into religion. Doesn't matter what walk of life you're in. You could be just a person who doesn't believe in God and suddenly start going to these prayer meetings and boom, you've got a sense of community. You got people around you giving you love and caring and embracing you. And suddenly, this is where you belong. But really, is it where you belong? Embrace yourself. If you can't feel good about yourself, you're going to open yourself up to these type of things. That's just how I feel about it. I'm done listening to this guy. This guy's driving me insane. So we're going to go ahead and go on to the next video to see what I've got planned for this. And it's one that is kind of a satirical look at the whole idea of having a after-school Satan club. Another thing that TST loves to do, just to prove a point. Recruiting tomorrow's Satanists. Ooh.
We want to get kids when they're young.
Now, see, you can do it without the trappings of being a religious-backed club. Although I wouldn't go as far as telling people that they're teaching kids to say that you're a but you get the point. I'd love to see what kids actually say when you ask them, would it bother you if nothing happened after this life? That would be a very interesting question to ask kids, but you have to figure out how to do that without them thinking you're going to start proselytizing or something. Once again, I'd like to thank Comedy Central for that. That was good, hilarious, on point, and yeah, both groups need to go away. Now, we're actually going to come across something here that has something to do with the Church of Satan. Of course, we're going to have to bring this all the way back to the beginning.
Formulated and organized into a productive social force that takes or accepts the premise that man is not a creature to be redeemed, but one who must recognize within himself his own potential, his own liabilities, and deal with them accordingly. We feel, as Nietzsche felt when he obviously wrote Also sprach Zarathustra. Opinion is that man can no longer fall back on established religion as a sort of identity, a collective identity. And occultism is a sort of do-it-yourself God kit, in whatever form it takes, oriented towards personal power. As a result of this, those who could be accepted collectively simply by being Christians at one time, for example, now find that with automation, with advances in technology, that their roles as human beings are much...
All right. He drones on and on, I know. But this is good old Dr. LaVey. This is the way he spoke. People thought he was charismatic. Even the way he spoke here, it sounds like a lot of gish galloping, in my opinion. Why do I pay attention to what this guy had to write? Because some of it was actually pretty good. Basic philosophy that he has in life, pretty standard, pretty good. But he does gish gallop and make no sense sometimes. Oh well, we're going to continue listening to this a little bit.
lessened a great deal, and much less viable than ever before. So as a result of this, they have set themselves up in sort of a minor godhead role, or god role, or goddess role, in a specious, or rather illogical at times, form of importance, or sense of importance. So I honestly feel occultism gives many people a chance to be big fish in little ponds. That men...
Big fish in little ponds. I don't know if I quite agree with that. Yes, I'm a Satanist. I fully admit it. I'm a Satanist. I am about myself. I'm an egotist. Or not an egotist, an egoist. I always get those words mixed up. An egotist is an idiot. An egoist is a person who looks after themselves first. I am an egoist. And I embrace who I am. I live my life to the fullest. And I conquer everything that I can around me through the power given to me through understanding the philosophy of Satanism. Sometimes I don't know how wisdom, though, came out of this person.
One must learn, of course, his animal nature by studying the nature of the beasts and from the children, this childlike sense of wonder, and to be able to relate to these things within him and the animal within him in order to develop into the higher man, the man who is ultimately going to succeed or to survive on this planet.
In your book, The Satanic Bible, you say, hate your enemies with a whole heart, and if a man smites you on one cheek, smash him on the other. Do you believe in this?
Yes, very much so. I think everyone does, except they cloak it in forms of false altruism or false morality. They feel that there's so much repressed aggression and repressed hostility that is never allowed to manifest itself because of teachings such as turn the other cheek, that it has made man an intrinsically vicious creature because he's bottled up all of these feelings, or he channels them into what would appear to be innocuous directions that are actually much more harmful to those who are around him.
I have to agree with that. But if someone smites you on the cheek, smash him. There's multiple ways of smashing him. There's multiple ways of venting out without actually having to engage in violence. Learning how to do this is what helps you overcome these types of things. And learning that there is such a thing as healthy anger and healthy aggression is something that I think everybody needs to do. But I could be alone in this idea. Obviously, I'm not, but learning how to do it in a way that doesn't harm yourself or others is a good thing to do.
Don't you think, or like some of your critics say, that Satanism is an excuse for sexual and orgiastic excesses of some of the people who like to look after the animals?
This is one of the arguments that I hear a lot. You just want to be sinful. You just want to do the things that are against the nature of God. I just embrace my humanity. I embrace who I am. If that means loving somebody that would be considered by most in certain walks of life to be the wrong way to go, then fuck those people. We should be free to pursue our happiness and our partner. And what some people think is deviant behavior, is it really deviant behavior? Think about that.
Yes, I fully agree that it is an excuse, but then I also agree that Christianity has been an excuse for many too, because there are many sects of Christianity that believe that in order to attain a spiritual quality or some sort of communion with God, one must be purged of any carnal desires, and the only way to rid oneself of carnal desires is to release them fully. And of course the Klishti in Russia believe this, that there's this Finklein, this little flame that's inside of everyone.
So that's the type of thing we're talking about there. And we're not going to let this
Welcome back.
because that's not part of what we're talking about. But yeah, there's always these little things, you know. Yeah. So, what is Satanism? That's another thing you come across when you do a search for Church of Satan on YouTube. What is Satan?
Calling you a Satanist, but more often.
Trying to remember where I wanted to start this one.
Sure, if you like heavy metal and you have a comb sticking out of your back pocket, you're probably cool with somebody calling you a Satanist. But more often than not, if you're called a Satanist, it's because someone is shouting after that, "Burn him!" It's not a good thing. And traditionally, it's been used to discredit people. Probably the most famous early use of accusations of Satanism was leveled against the Knights Templar, the very wealthy religious army that invaded the Middle East during the Crusades.
This is a fun little thing to think about. This is fun.
Around the turn of the last millennium. The Templars were accused of worshiping Baphomet, a form of Satan that turned into this guy by the 19th century. The thing is, modern historians believe that it's possible Baphomet is a mangled translation of Muhammad, and that the Knights Templar were actually secretly Muslims and had converted during the Crusades.
Oh no, the Templars became Muslim. This could be bad. This could be bad.
More famously were the witch hunts in Europe and the Americas that were carried out from the 14th century onward. All of those people who were accused of witchcraft were also accused of worshiping the devil.
And it still happens today when you come out as you're Wiccan, you're worshiping the devil. Whoa. You're not following the Abrahamic faith, therefore you are worshiping the devil.
Being in league with him. Even recently than that, in the 1980s and 90s, in the United States and Britain, there was something called the Satanic Panic, which is a moral panic that saw everybody from burnouts to daycare workers accused of worshiping Satan and murdering people and molesting children, all in the name of the Dark Lord. The thing is, this was a super nutso time, and people actually went to prison for decades.
Yeah, people actually went to prison because of these false accusations.
For crimes that they, and actually no one, ever committed. The whole thing was totally fictitious. Now, despite the moral panics and instances where people have murdered in the name of Satan, there's no evidence that there actually ever has been a widespread and organized worship of Satan, despite the fear by some that it actually exists.
He can't, I can't, I'm sorry. I can't do any better than this guy. This guy's actually explaining it better than I can. That's because he's got a whole staff of writers doing the work for him.
Instead, Satanism is a wholly made-up philosophy that focuses on the sanctity and the freedom of the individual. To Satanists, Satan is a symbol of mankind's free will. They don't really actually believe in the Christian version of Satan. They certainly don't believe in the red devil running around with the pointy tail and the horns, although they...
You don't know how many times I get asked, don't you believe in the devil? Don't you worship a real Satan? You call yourself a Satanist. You must believe in the devil. Symbolism, people. Symbolism. Satan is the adversary, the accuser. And is not a literal thing to us. We are the adversary. We are the accuser. We are the adversary against harmful social norms. Yes, something I borrowed from TST. Yeah. Don't tell anybody. We accuse religion of being the source of a lot of evil in the world. And we are the opposer to false dichotomies.
They did appropriate the beard. The actual Church of Satan was founded in 1966. It's pretty recent. And it was founded by a guy named Anton LaVey. LaVey believed that Christian churches were actually quite hypocritical. So he packaged his brand of individualism with a dramatic mockery of Christian rights. It attracted like-minded people, and actually 50 years on, the church is still around. It spawned some offshoots like the Temple of Set in 1975, and more recently, the Satanic Temple in 2013. The Satanic Temple's activities mostly include shining a spotlight on the lack of separation between church and state in the United States. So,
a political organization trying to get people to change the minds of congressmen to make sure that we keep religion out of our schools, out of our public places, out of our courts, and all these other things. But, and keep religion out of our reproductive rights. Don't forget about that one. But is this really the best way to handle a situation like this? Is it best to use a religion to talk about these type of things? I don't think it is, but hey, I don't agree with the Satanic Temple on a lot of the things that they're talking about. I do agree with a lot of the things the Church of Satan does, just because they keep their fingers out of the political arena. They leave it up to the individual if they want to do something, but they never go in there saying, I stand against this because I'm a Satanist. No, they stand against this because they don't believe this is the right thing to do.
So for example, they paid for a 9-foot bronze statue of Baphomet surrounded by adoring children that they plan to install at the Oklahoma State Capitol building after the 10 Commandments went up there.
As you can see down below, this was 6 years ago. Can't remember, but I don't think they successfully did this. But they did get the 10 Commandments moved off the Capitol grounds.
They also distributed a kids' coloring book at a school where Christians were handing out pamphlets. They're also known as being the trolls who trolled Uber Trolls Westboro Baptist Church by holding a gay satanic wedding on the grave of Fred Phelps' mother. Fred Phelps is the founder of Westboro Baptist Church.
Another thing you would never catch any legitimate Satanist doing is attacking a person through this type of theater.
If you want to troll us, go ahead and...
So, there's a small presentation on several different versions of Satanism that are in existence today, and how this stuff came about in history. But, truthfully, sorry, got a whisker that's in my way, and it's annoying me. Excuse me. 1 second. There it is. It's gone. Anyway, it annoyed the fuck out of me, so it's going to go away. Just like these thorns in my side that trouble me, they will go away. I'm not going to pay attention to them. Just going to move on. And I think finally tonight, we're going to talk about Monster energy drinks. Now remember, this is what happens when you search for the Church of Satan on YouTube. You come up with stuff like this. That is one of the things that I and some others are trying to present more things that have to do with the actual philosophy of Satanism, education, and show that we're just normal, everyday atheists that have a philosophy that we live by. You wouldn't know as a Satanist if you met me on the street unless you got an up-close look at my ring. You saw my pinnacle I wear around my neck, which is never out in public. The only thing that I have out is this little ring, and you have to be very close to see it. Otherwise, you'd never know I was a Satanist if you just saw me on the street. But let's see what this woman has to say about Monster Energy drinks and Satan. This is one of the most hilarious things I've ever watched in my life.
Look at your M closely. There's a gap right here in the letter M. It's never connected. So you go into Hebrew. The letter Vav is also the number 6. Short top, long tail. Short top, long tail. You could have here in Hebrew 666 on the can.
And anybody who knows anything about the number 666, well, for one thing, it should be 661. Or is it 616? I can't remember which it is, but it's wrong. But it's the number of Nero, the emperor, who burned Rome.
But my interest is the word monster. What do you see in the O?
So, tell me, if you're listening, tell me, what do you see in that O? What do you see in that O? Come on, I want to know what you see in that O. Do you see a cross in that O? Do you see it? I know I've got a delay here, so I got to wait a couple of seconds. Do you see the O? It has a cross in it. See it? Does anybody see it? Oh, there's Aunt Jer. Aunt Jer sees the cross. Okay, we got the cross there. We got that in mind. We got that in mind. I know. This streaming delay is a pain in the arse. So here's what happens. See, let's see what she has to say about this thing. This is good.
There's a cross. Okay. What has Christ got to do with an energy drink, let alone the name Monster? So I thought, well, maybe this is a Christian company then. BFC at the bottom of the can.
It's a BFC, people. It's a BFC. Do you know what the BFC stands for? Hey, she's going to tell you. Kind of. She's going to bleep it.
Do you know what that's in? That's the F word. Big can. In fact, they write it on the side of the can, so I know that's the F word. Okay. Now, do you know what a MILF is? Yes. That's on the box. MILFs dig it, and you will too.
MILFs dig it, and you will too. Yeah, come on. Drink Monster. The drink that MILFs love.
This is not a company at all. So why would they have put a cross on the can? Here is the message.
This is fun. This is fun. This is a lot of fun right here. This is a lot of fun.
Antichrist. 666 in Hebrew. And then the Bible talks about the beast in Revelation. And look at Monster's ad. This is their statement.
Unleash the beast.
You see these M's everywhere. Hats, t-shirts, bumper stickers. Is there another agenda here? If God can use people and product, so can Satan.
Love the way she finishes. This is really good. This is really good. Yes, I've seen this lady before. I've heard this before. This is fun.
And look at it this way. Even if the M was not the issue, you cannot deny that that is a cross. And what is witchcraft? When the cross goes upside down, bottoms up, and the devil laughs. Something to think about. Wow. This is how clever Satan is and how he gets into the Christian home and a Christian's life, and it breaks God's heart. Jesus said, "My people perish for lack of knowledge."
All right, all right. This is so much fun. I really can't tell you how much fun this is. Oops, wrong one. I hit the wrong button there. Sorry about that. That was hilarious. Well, that was hilarious. They very might well be Satanists. I don't know. I know several MILFs, but I tell you, I don't know if they're Satanists or not. I haven't met a fellow Satanist that's a MILF. Wait a minute. Anyway. That's what happens when you search for Church of Satan on YouTube. Kind of hilarious if you ask me. Well, that's about all I've got for y'all tonight. Tune in next week when we go back to having a little more fun. If you're interested in being a guest, make sure you check out the show notes, which will be posted below after this video is over, on how to contact me about being a guest. I'd like to talk about some topics with other Satanists and see what's happening. It's the mentality that I grew up around. Looking for a demon in everything. Exactly. You're looking for a demon underneath every bush. They're looking for a demon everywhere. But like I was saying, that's about all I've got for y'all tonight. The only thing I want to leave you with is I want you to embrace who you are, to live your best life, and to conquer the world around you. We are who we are supposed to be. We need to embrace that and become more open about who we really are with people. Embrace yourself, live your life, and conquer the world around you. Have a good time. See y'all next week. Same time. Well, not this day. On Saturday night, midnight Central Time. We will see you. Oh, and before I forget, don't forget, keep that Varm Plata dry.